Brilliance Audio presents The Royal Baths Murder by J.R. Ellis, performed by Michael Page. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to welcome back to this year's festival the distinguished writer Damian Penrose. There was enthusiastic applause from the sell-out audience in the White Swan Hotel. It was a pleasant summer evening in Harrogate, and the crime-writing festival was in full swing. Penrose, seated in an armchair on the stage that had been set up in the hotel's ballroom, accepted the applause with a haughty nod in the direction of the audience. Penrose had had a long career as a successful best-selling crime writer and was rumoured to be worth several £1,000,000. He had also gained notoriety due to his tempestuous private life and his frequent barbed comments about other writers. The latter had led him to being dubbed Poison Pen, a title in which he revelled. Good writing was always assisted by bad behaviour, which created publicity and boosted sales. "So," began Ben, "if I can ask you first of all, where's your starting place when you're writing a crime story?" Penrose relaxed back into his chair with an air of arrogant nonchalance. "Inspiration comes in many forms to the mind gifted with imagination. I can see something while I'm driving or walking down the street, or read about some trivial event in a newspaper, and suddenly a plot unfolds before me. It's quite an extraordinary process. And then it's a question of crafting those ideas into novel form." "Exactly. And that's where the serious work begins. Of course, after so many successful novels, I've got it down to a fine art, so to speak." "Quite. Do you have a set of principles that you follow?" "Oh, I don't need those. It's only weak and struggling writers who need props like that. Once I sit down to write, it flows without much difficulty." He turned to the audience. "My 20th book is out soon. I'm sure you're all keen to know." There was subdued laughter at this brazen act of self-promotion. "Yes," said Ben, who was already finding it difficult to get Penrose to talk about anything other than himself. "What do you think makes a good crime novel?" "There's no formula for it. I just follow my instinct, and it's never let me down in 20 books. You'll have to ask my readers what makes my books so appealing." The baths area was below street level. Penrose wandered through a little maze of branching corridors to reach the changing rooms where he put on his swimming trunks. One of the reasons he favoured the privacy of these sessions was that he knew his ageing body was not so attractive these days. It was satisfyingly quiet down here. Penrose started with a few lengths of the swimming pool. Whilst he swam, he thought with satisfaction about the encounters of the previous evening. He emerged from the swimming pool, dried off, and headed past the small cold plunge pool to the interconnecting steam and hot rooms. These were graded in temperature, and the steam smelled of eucalyptus. As he sat on a stone bench, sweating profusely, the hissing sound increased, and a mist drifted in and became dense. He must have left the door to the adjacent steam room open. Surely something was turned up too high. And what was that dark shape moving by the door? It was over in seconds. A ligature was passed around his neck and tightened. Penrose struggled and grabbed at the choking cord. He stumbled to his feet, then crashed onto the wet floor. He flapped and floundered like a fat pig caught in a noose, until at last he lay still. The ligature was removed, and the assailant flitted away noiselessly. There followed a strange period of calm and quiet. Penrose remained where he'd fallen, staring across the damp floor of the hot room. In reception, Carol sat behind the desk, glancing at her newspaper and waiting for the rush at 9:15. Shirley had almost finished her cleaning and was standing outside having a smoke at 8:45 when Steve Munro, one of the attendants and masseurs, arrived for work. He was in his early 30s and very handsome, so Carol gave him another of her wide smiles when he came through the door. "Hi, Carol. Anybody in?" "Just Mr. Penrose." "Right, I'll go down and get things ready. Has Shirley finished?" "Think so. She'll be off in a minute." Steve clattered down the steps, but it seemed only seconds later that he called out urgently for Carol to come down. She hurried down the stairs to find Steve, grim-faced, standing over a body. "Steve!" she screamed. "It's Mr. Penrose. He's dead."